Well, hello and welcome to another COVID-19 report on behalf of Friendly to Seniors and CARP, the Canadian Association of Retired Persons. My name is John Lindsay. I'm chair of Friendly to Seniors and also vice chair of CARP, the Canadian Association of Retired Persons. And Hugh Crizel is our chair of the Northern Ontario chapter, which has several thousand members. We don't pretend to represent all seniors, of course, but a fair number in our community. A lot of us are over the age of, well, some of us are older than others, let's put it that way. I just wanted to say here that on our last video, there were comments that there was too much attention paid to my glasses. And I don't need these glasses now that I've had, like so many older adults, I've had cataract surgery. So I can see quite well off into the distance. I need some of them. This is sort of a bifocal arrangement here, so I can read really fine print. But other than that, I can see fine. You know, better than I've ever seen before. Well, what's happening with respect to seniors and the pandemic crisis, which is not going away anytime soon? And we've heard from both our Prime Minister and our Premier here in Ontario that we're going to be locked down for a while longer. There's going to be some opening take place. How this is going to actually occur, no one really knows. And how long the pandemic is going to exist, no one knows. We hear from our neighbors to the south that, well, they're attempting to open up and open up early. It's going to be interesting to see just what happens. And also several other provinces, notably Quebec and PEI and Nova Scotia, and British Columbia to a certain extent are experimenting with opening up. How this is going to work out, we're just going to have to wait and see. How does this affect us seniors, however, here in Northern Ontario and specifically in the Sudbury area? Southern Ontario, well, from my relatives in Southern Ontario, they don't know any more than we do here in the north. We do know, however, that seniors are at real risk. And we can only look at what's happening with respect to seniors in nursing homes. Now, because they're in nursing homes and they're there because they are really severely compromised in many ways, and when the COVID-19 bug gets to them, well, it's pretty well game over. And this applies to those of us who are really in relatively good health, but over the age of 70, we know that the death rates are upwards of 20%, regardless of whether you're in a nursing home or not. There are exceptions, and it's always good to be on the exception side if you're alive, rather than on the exception side otherwise. Nursing homes, now we've been very concerned about nursing homes for many years, and those of us here in the Sudbury area, particularly those associated with Friendly to Seniors, have been very much involved. And we've had groups that have been involved over the years, particularly those associated with Nancy Johnson, with Dot Klein, with Dr. Peter Zalen, and Franz Jelena, our MP for Nickel Belt. Very much involved, and you can find out some of the research and some of the work that we tried to accomplish with respect to improving conditions in nursing homes. That's all on our website, which is friendlytoseniors.ca, and some other information there as well. So what are we to do? You know, are we to stay locked down and be fearful for however long? Well, there's no doubt about it that social distancing, keeping ourselves apart, is a very, very good idea. And also these apparels that this is one that was obtained, believe it or not, from a convenience store. And, you know, they work to some extent. The experts aren't sure exactly to what extent, but nevertheless, it does give us some psychological comfort, even though some of those very, very small viruses may be able to get through any type of mask, except those that are the ones that guarantee that 95% can't come through. But in any event, it doesn't hurt, you know, to make sure that if you're at all cautious, what's the harm? And it does indicate to others too that you are being responsible. With respect to the grocery stores, if you have someone that can go to the grocery stores for you, or you can order online and pick up, that's probably a good idea rather than going into the stores themselves. However, you can go at certain times when there's less traffic, and if you maintain that social distance, probably you're going to be okay. And as well, if you happen to bring along your handy mask as well too. So CARP, Canadian Association of Retired Persons, we have a very active executive here for Northern Ontario. Hugh Crizel is our leader, and we haven't been able to have any meetings. We were hoping to have our annual general meeting, which is attended by several hundred people every year in May. Unfortunately, that's not going to be held this year. We're still not certain as to other events that are going to take place, like festivals here in the Sudbury area. I'm chair of the Blueberry Festival, and we're still debating, not sure what's going to happen. We'd like to know if Northern Lights Festival Boreal is going to take place. The Dragon Boat Festival, we've heard, may be taking place. How about up here? We know that the Sudbury Theatre Centre and the Symphony have canceled everything for this season and are getting ready for next season. Let's hope that everything can be in good shape by then. So this is our COVID-19 report for today, as we've just learned that it's going to be a while before the province will open up any type of activity that we can get out there and enjoy. A lot of us are, of course, upset that we're not able to go to pick up a hamburger or a sandwich or to dine out at any of our great restaurants. We're rather concerned as to how many of our restaurants are going to survive with this in this particular situation, what the future is going to hold for our restaurants. We have great restaurants in the Sudbury area, and we'd like to see them all reopen at some time so we can get out there and enjoy some of that fine cuisine that's offered in our many establishments. The glasses are back on, doesn't make any difference, but what I will say to you, for those of you who are interested and possibly missed it the first time around, and that's the report we have, our COVID virus report from a woman, and I did mention in our last that it was a young woman. I maybe should have, young of course relative to my age, but about half my age, but actually she's rather middle-aged by now. But she acquired the virus on an international trip and is still experiencing the effects, and that was way back in February. And her description of what it's like, and this is for, a relatively young person. So it affects everybody differently. And one of the advantages, or I guess cautions, about wearing a mask of any description at all is I don't know if I'm actually carrying the virus, because you can actually do that. You can have the virus and you can be transmitting it to other people, and yet it won't affect you. This is a very tricky virus. It's a silent killer. You can't see it, but it's there. You can get through masks, and we're not even sure if after you've had the actual condition and recovered, if possibly you can reacquire it again. So this is really serious stuff, and all over the world. It's everywhere basically, and it's affecting, well, not everyone, because thank goodness it's not like 1918 where millions died. Right now that's not the case, but there is a concern that if we relax, like happened in 1918, it was proven that when they relaxed and they opened up too early, then you had this second wave that came along, worse than the first. So that's why those that are responsible are being very careful with respect to opening up. Now we know that in certain areas, especially in the United States, there are riots, people are concerned about their constitutional freedom and don't want anybody to tell them what to do. We just hope that these people are not going to suffer the consequences. But regardless, that's about all we have to say for this edition of COVID-19. On behalf of Friendly to Seniors, I'm chair of Friendly to Seniors, and on behalf of Hugh Crizel, who's chair of CARP, Canadian Association of Retired Persons, the Northern Ontario chapter. And so until next time, this is John Lindsay signing off and reminding you that to stay tuned, and we'll have a repeat of the description of how one individual in Sudbury experienced the COVID-19. So until next time, goodbye for now.
This is my experience. I am active, meaning that I lift weights in a gym a minimum of 3 times a week with approximately 3 hours of cardio on top of that, a lifestyle I've maintained for the last 10 years. I also consider myself healthy, meaning that I cook with lots of vegetables and organic meat from local farmers. I do not have any pre-existing conditions, and I do not take any prescriptions. My symptoms from COVID-19 are unique to me, and I hope you never experience any of them. The cough is involuntary and unrelenting. I barely had time to cover my mouth with my elbow. It's difficult to say 2 words without being interrupted by another cough, literally gasping for breath between words at times. My lungs were full of mucus that would come up in my throat when I coughed. It was so thick I couldn't clear my throat and had trouble breathing when it blocked my trachea. It felt as though I had the weight of bricks pushing down on my lungs. It was tight and I could only take short breaths. It took a lot of effort to breathe, and it seemed that I was suffocating from the inside out. I had a runny nose and congestion, similar to having a bad head cold, and needed to keep Kleenex near me at all times. I had a transient fever. It washed over me unexpectedly, and then an hour later would disappear, only to return again later in the day and then go away again. My muscles ached like I had been beaten up, my stomach was sore, and I was nauseous. I had dry, itchy eyes, both my ears were blocked, they were sore and ached as if I had an ear infection. I lost both my sense of taste and sense of smell. I couldn't tell what I was eating or drinking. My mouth was parched and dry, no matter how much fluid I drank. And as I improved, my sinuses and sore throat were raw, feeling as though someone had scraped all the skin off. My lungs felt as though a campfire had burnt the insides to a crisp, searing all the way up my throat and sinus. It was painful to breathe, and I felt like I was breathing in a cloud of smoke.